So why are we here?
We're here because I want to have a document of the effect my life has had on humanity. I wanted to do a little thing so that Izzy and Katie have got something.
Right.
Yeah. After I've gone.
After you've gone.
Yes. So they can look at this and go, that's what he was like. I remember now.
Okay.
That's the plan.
What's your name?
My name is, actually officially, it's Michael James Dominic Sweeney.
Because I don't know you as Michael James Dominic Sweeney.
No, not many people do.
All new, all-star Jim Sweeney.
Blimey, doing a pint after that, look. I'm not Robbie. I'm the Sheriff of Nottingham. And you're old Nick. They were laughing. Inwardly. You've got to have a sense of humour in this job, Barry. Have you seen my... Oh, God, terribly sorry.
Got a fag?
No, give it up. Stops your growth.
Blimey.
Darling!
But we've been going to the Oval for a while, and a woman called Ros Price, came up and said, you should come and do some of the classes. Didn't mean anything to us at all. We just came to this youth theatre group. And she said there's a class on a Friday called an improvisation workshop. And I promise you, I had never heard the word improvisation before in my life.
I think I first met Jim, Jim and Steve. It would have been at a gig in Jongleurs.
I think like in the hospitality suite when we were doing Whose Line.
I was a Cray sister the first time I met Jim and Steve.
Jim and Steve were on, and they were doing improv, and there were just two of them, and it was funny.
He and Steve had a double act, and they played on the circuit, and they had something called Omelette Broadcasting. And they actually were doing improv before any of the players.
But of course him and Steve were predating all this Whose Line and Comedy Store Players by, 10, 12 years.
We're sort of confused about when we actually first improvised together. He says it was at the store, but I'm sure it can't be. I'm sure it was at the Dunmar warehouse.
And one of my favourite things is when Jim and Josie would do scenes together, because they were just so good together.
People come and eat.
People come and eat in the canteen.
In that canteen.
In the canteen.
I like to keep things neat.
Keep things neat.
That's why it's so good, especially to do songs with him, duets, because he's so good at doing like a counter rhythm over what you're singing.
We start at 1. Lunch has begun at 1, not 12.
I said once that we were the Peters and Lee of the impro world.
But that's the genius, I think, that part, and of course, the gift of song.
When was the first time you were aware that he was ill?
In a restaurant, when he couldn't read the menu. And I don't think he'd said much to many of us. But it just became the norm to just take the menu and read it for him.
I noticed that people were looking at the menu and going, this looks good, the spaghetti with the open... People were announcing, sort of open reading the menu. And I caught Don, or I think maybe Neil Malarkey or Richard sort of said, Jim's having a little trouble with his eyesight. And, we kind of helped him read the thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And so you just sort of like... And he was next to me. I said, the gnocchi looks good. And he started speaking it out loud.
We had to walk across quite a big field to get to the car that was going to take us up to the store, because we were doing 2 gigs on the same day. And Jim was walking quite slowly, and I asked him if he was all right, and he said, no, I think the thing with my eyes is now affecting the rest of me. And I said, what do you think it is? And they said, well, he thinks... He said he'd been to the doctor, and the doctor thought it was MS.
I think you guys are phenomenal, and I think what you always made an accommodation for was the condition, but you never made an accommodation for him.
I mean, we still wanted him in the show. Now, I mean, from a purely selfish point of view, we wanted Jim in the show because he was so good, and we didn't want to lose him.
If it meant, I had to go and pick him up and drive him into the store, that's what it took, that's what it was going to be. And it was, if we had to find a way of building a ramp with Simon, then Simon was brilliant building that ramp. And, there was no way, because you know, he's the best. He is the best.
In the wheelchair, he was just deadly. Just fucking deadly. And I found that I had to go really low to get over on him, you know.
Become better and better at impro as well. I mean, he's like the godfather of impro.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I've been with the Comedy Store Players for 15 years, but tonight is my last gig that I'm going to do with the Players. Yeah, whatever.
Eric Morecambe, very fucking funny man. Jim Sweeney, very fucking funny man. No difference. No difference in talent.